Good morning. There's the first step of the two-step process, because everything gets silent and then I know at least I think I'm live. I'm not really certain until I get to hear myself. And that actually happens at the 30-second mark. So if you listen to me every day, you probably are very aware of my little shuffle for the first 30 seconds. So, and there it is, the second step. Good morning, world. Happy Wednesday. Hope it's sunny where you are. It's actually not sunny where I am in the Fox Valley area of Chicago. Very much overcast, much more fall-like weather. And, this is the season. Hope you are as excited about today as I am. If not, it's time to get excited about your life and all the possibilities. Some of us need a thought adjustment. Some of us are thirsty for knowledge, and lots of you are friends. So thanks for stopping by. I'm your host, Bruce Burbacher. And, the phone number was next. Yep. The phone number here at thirstforjoy.com radio is 630-881-0762. Again, the phone number here at thirstforjoy.com radio is 630-881-0762. Please leave any suggestions or praises here, but I always recommend a text because there's just so many robo phone calls and phony phone calls of some people trying to sell you stuff. And there are a lot of the recorded shows, as I tell you every day, on the website. And simply go to the second to the last page on the website, Thirst for Joy, and that is the Bruce Empowerment Hour. And simply read those instructions. It's not very lengthy, but it's very important that you follow those. There's just a few to really get the best out of the recorded shows. So we always talk about the Facebook posts, and that one I talked about, calling for the boycott of NFL, I bet it's probably about 20,000 likes by now. They're still coming in. It's just crazy. But, I do speak my mind, and this is one of my platforms, and Facebook is the other one, really. And obviously that one's free. So anyway, I want to say what today's post is because I think it's a good one. I don't know if it's going to get nearly the likes, but it's because I found that to get the most likes, you say things that the people are thinking, and you kind of ask a question in there. It's kind of like a call to action. But anyway, today's post: think clearer, declutter your home and your life. I'm going to say it one more time. Think clearer, declutter your home and your life. I believe it's so important. I believe that there's truly a correlation between your housekeeping, how cluttered your home is basically how, in my mind, a good sense of how cluttered your mind is. I'm not saying it's 100% equal, but I'd say there's probably a pretty high percentage. The more cluttered your home, the more cluttered your mind. It kind of goes hand in hand. But I do have talking points, as I always do, political talking points, and I also have subject matter, as I always do too. So today, later on in the show, we're actually going to be talking about overcoming fear and anxiety. I'm going to say that again. The second half of the show is going to be we're going to be talking about overcoming fear and anxiety, because those things are very critical. But I am actually doing something a little bit different with my political talking points. So, I'm still kind of like in this flux mode of figuring out what works. So just want to talk about some things that are in the headlines today. And one of them is President Crows as NFL boss Goodell cries uncle. He says players should stand for the national anthem. Duh. It's kind of ironic to me how some of the most patriotic people I know are the hugest football fans. And I'll give you one example. My brother. He is the biggest sports guy I personally know, besides my friend Jim in Florida, and how they're going out of their way to disrespect the patriotism of their audience. What are they, freaking stupid? Stupid is and stupid does, as Forrest Gump would say, but I don't know. I could be on that subject all the rest of the show. But the bigger problem is these people that do it, A, do not appreciate the millions of dollars they get paid. The millions. Why our soldiers make a pittance like 38 grand or something a year for putting their life on the line. And many have lost limbs and lost lives. How dare these football players be so unpatriotic? But really, it's a bigger picture because the far left is trying to steal your patriotism. They already stole your God. It's a done deal. This is a post-Christian nation. Yes, that's something a pastor friend of mine has said a few times, and actually, I was like, wow, that blew me out of the water. This is a post-Christian nation. Even though there's a very good chance you are Christian like me, that doesn't mean we live in a Christian nation anymore. We were founded as a Christian nation. We were founded as Judeo-Christian principles. Just read your 10 Commandments, if you're even allowed to anymore. Because the left has done an outrageously good job of stealing those things from you. Some people call it the left, some people call it Satan, some people call it a combination. I don't know. I just know the fact that it's gone. They've stolen God from us. They've even stolen him out of our manuals that we teach our children, all our textbooks. There's no mention of God anymore. They want to give you this false narrative that you came from apes. Well, I didn't come from an ape, and I'm quite certain you didn't either. Of course, I haven't personally met you, most of you, but I don't think so. Let's be honest with ourselves. A dog never became a man. A cat never became a woman. Even though they portray those things on the movies and TV programs, it has never actually happened. I believe Darwin was 100% incorrect. And interesting feller, but doesn't mean he spoke the truth. Didn't even mean he knew the truth. So anyway, going back to the headlines. I like what Newt Gingrich said about the NFL. Only took 3 weeks for public humiliation to get the message. They've totally missed who their customers are. How sad and pathetic for them. And I don't know if I want to talk about I guess I am going to talk about the whole Russia phony probe. Oh my gosh. Robert Mueller and all the lawyers that he's hired, I don't even know. I think it's probably 30-something right now, and every one of us making huge money. Robert Mueller is literally fleecing you, the American taxpayer, out of hundreds of millions of dollars as he tries to discredit our president, only to make Hillary criminal Clinton feel better. She is nothing more than a criminal, and most of us strong Republicans certainly believe she should at least be in jail. She is nothing more than a traitor. Selling 25% of our uranium to our biggest enemy, and you call her our friend? What are you smoking? Oh my gosh, this lady is no friend of any American. She might be friend of Russians. I'd say she's probably their best friend. In fact, there's no doubt in my mind, knowing who Vladimir Putin is, he'd have probably preferred Hillary to be president because he knew he could have his way with Hillary Clinton. But he's a smart man, Vladimir Putin. I'm not saying he's a good man. I'm saying he's a smart man. And he knows that he cannot push Donald Trump around. Donald Trump don't play that. Hillary Clinton would. He'd play her like a fiddle. Oh my gosh. I don't even want to get on my soapbox over that one. I think I should move on. Well, the only one that's stuck up for Harvey Weinstein, and I really don't have no reason why other than, I'm talking about Lindsay Lohan, is kind of defending Harvey Weinstein. And my guess is he didn't find her attractive, so he never messed with her. But it's kind of interesting to me how Harvey Weinstein is a very big, big friend of the Clintons and the Obamas. And a lot of that's because of his big giving to the Democratic Party. But Harvey Weinstein is a rapist. And Hillary criminal Clinton is not murdered. Well, that's also another topic that could be discussed. But Hillary criminal Clinton is also married to a rapist. So she gets it. And, the funny thing about her finally saying a couple words of putting down Harvey Weinstein, she's never offered to give the money back. A lot of other people that have received money from this jerk, Harvey Weinstein, rapist, they have given the money back or donated to women's causes. Not Hillary Criminal Clinton. Heck no. Hillary Criminal Clinton is a greedy bitch. Yeah. Son of a dog, whatever they call that. Whatever politically correct. Hillary Clinton, Criminal Clinton, is nothing more than as greedy as they get. She don't give a damn about you. She only wants your vote. And she didn't get it because she was such a bad candidate. I believe she was the worst candidate ever chosen for the White House. And I'll be honest, I'm not against the lady president. I'm not. But I have yet to see the lady that truly identifies with the American people. And I'm just going to go ahead and fill you in on a little thing that I've been thinking for several months at this point now. And I don't obviously know if it's true, but I believe that Ivanka Trump is being groomed as the first lady president. And I do want to talk about another subject around the president, because it is hugely important that you know this, because the left-wing lying media and the rest of them, they don't even mention this. I believe there's literally no doubt in my mind that the tides have completely turned with ISIS. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and be the first one to say it. I call for President Donald Trump to win the Nobel Peace Prize because of the gains he's made against ISIS. And I'm going to say it again because it's huge to get your mind around this. I haven't heard this before, but I will say it again. I believe President Donald Trump is worthy of the Nobel Peace Prize because what he has done to ISIS is literally saving thousands and thousands of lives from a very torturous death. There is literally no doubt, but the left-wing media will never even hint at that because they don't want you to know about his victories. They don't talk about how the economy is just doing gangbusters. Just look at the overall Wall Street and everything, and the Dow Jones and everything else. The economy is doing gangbusters. ISIS is in retreat. But the news never even tells you these things. But it's going to take some time. And I think if you're paying attention, I always say, do the research. Don't just take my word for it. Do the research. If you do, it's only going to prove my point. It's going to make me look better. So please, please do your research. So there's just so many things that, I'll be honest, when I first started developing this show and I realized, wow, 1 hour is a long time to talk, that because I'm so passionate about my political views, I realized, wow, I'm going to develop a whole segment just for that because that will be easy to talk about. I could talk all day about that, but I also think it's very important to encourage you in other ways. So obviously today we're talking about fear and anxiety a little bit later. And that is something that literally everybody is forced to deal with one time or another at one level or another. So I'm tempted to take care of a little business. In fact, why don't you give me a minute? You're awfully noisy there, buddy. You need to be quiet, okay? I'm going to go ahead and make a confession I've never actually stated before. I actually do this radio show from my front room, which is very convenient because, basically I walk down the stairs and I'm at work. But the downside of that is being in my front room, if you hear a little background noise and you're going, what the heck is that? It's probably my doggy, Sammy. There's been many times I've had to literally wake him up. Today is not one of those days, but he certainly was making a lot of noise. So I just gave him a little love. And he seemed to be quiet down, so hopefully that does the trick. But there's just so many things that I'd like to talk about politically before we get into fear and anxiety that I think I'm going to touch on some other things. And let's see, where do we want to go? Oh, yeah, this is the one I read about last night. And this story is getting more bizarre as we go on. And I'm going to be talking about, for a couple of minutes, the Debbie Wasserman Schultz aide. And her aide has a unique Middle Eastern name, so I may not get it politically correct, but I'm going to try. Imran Awan, lawmaker calls massive data transfer from Debbie Wasserman Schultz aide substantial security threat. I hope to God she is thrown out of office, and I'm referring to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And I'm so glad she's no longer the head of the DNC, because every time she would open her mouth, I would change the channel to look at. Obviously, she's an attractive lady. I'm not saying she's not. But just the ugliness that would come out of her mouth and the lies. I hate being lied to. And when I'm lied to on the TV, I will not hesitate to change the channel. So I didn't really get too much exposure, but every time it would inflame me. But anyway, a Republican lawmaker on Tuesday described the massive data transfer on government servers by former IT aide to Democratic Florida Debbie Wasserman Schultz as a substantial security threat. These facts, standing alone, indicate a substantial security threat. Pennsylvania Republican Scott Perry said that Imran Awan case during an informal hearing of Republican House members on Capitol Hill on Tuesday. Awan pleaded not guilty in September to multiple federal charges and tried to skip the country, by the way. But may I digress. Charges including bank fraud and conspiracy. A grand jury had returned an indictment in August in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, charging Ayman Arwan and his wife, Hina Alvi, with a total of 4 charges. Perry, a member of the Homeland Security Subcommittee on Cybersecurity, said Tuesday that the House Office of Inspector General tracked the network usage of Awan and his associates on the House server and found that a massive amount of data was flowing from the networks. It's getting even crazier and more bizarre, but this is not good for America. This is very bad for America. Awan and other IT aides for the House Democrats had been on investigators' radar for months over concerns of possible double billing, alleged equipment theft, and access to sensitive computer systems. Most lawmakers fired Awan in February, but Wasserman Schultz had kept him on payroll until July. And I think she's hiding even more. And she, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, is the entire reason why Bernie Sanders never got put up, in case you're not familiar with that. She went behind his back to literally discredit and make sure he was not the nominee that Hillary was. Thank you, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, for the worst candidate in political history. According to Perry, more than 57,000 logins by 5 Awan associates were discovered on a single server within the House, and 5,400 of those logins appeared unauthorized on that server. Perry said that belonged to the Democrats, Xavier Barrera, I don't even know how to say that name, who is now an attorney general in California. And, that figures, another liberal state. And, I had a little remark about Jerry Brown, but anyway, I am not a fan of Jerry Brown on many levels. And he must be a buddy of Bruce Rauner. And to make these states sanctuary states, that's sanctuary for criminals. But anyway, I better stay on focus. Today's post was about focus. Perry said a criminal investigation by Capitol Hill Police begun after the House Office Inspector General reported its findings to Awan and his associates last year. And actually, I'm going to be getting into a bigger point, so that's why I keep on going through this. The congressman said Capitol Police determined that an image they asked Imran to provide was falsified, believing to be a deliberate attempt to conceal the activities that they knew were against House policy and the law. So to me, it totally looks like not only did this IT jerk break the law, but I believe he was under direct orders from Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Perry also discussed how Capitol Police removed a bag with a laptop featuring Wasserman Schultz's initials from the phone booth after midnight in the Rayburn building about 2 months after House investigators barred Awan and his coterie from access to House computer networks. The indictment itself addresses separate allegations that Awan and his wife engaged in a conspiracy to obtain home equity lines of credit. This is the part I'm getting to. Congressional Federal Credit Union by giving false information about 2 properties and then sending the proceeds to individuals in Pakistan. So they've literally cheated you out of hundreds of thousands of dollars and sent that money to Pakistan. The case has put renewed scrutiny on Wasserman Schultz for keeping Awan on the payroll for months, even after the criminal investigation was revealed and he was barred from House IT network. She was paying him hush money. Don't be fooled. In a recent interview published in the Sun Sentinel, Wasserman Schultz blamed the right-wing media circus for the fringe for the attention on Awan. No, it was all you, Deputy Wasserman Schultz. The former head of the Democratic National Committee has suggested that it's all a part of an effort to distract from the investigation of Russia meddling in the 2016 campaign, possibly ties to President Trump's team. And it's kind of funny to me how when I was reading that, how I know that the Democrats will do anything to distract your attention. They'll throw anything out there if it distracts you because most people don't know the issues deeply. They only know a few seconds of a sound bite. That's all they really know. And I was thinking about getting into this, but I think I've already touched on it, and that's the whole Harvey Weinstein and the ties to the Clinton-Obama run deep. Oh my gosh, since I've already talked about it, I'm not going to go back there. But I am going to talk a little bit about something that's not political. But it's scary. It's big time scary. Not sure if you know this, but underneath Yellowstone is a super volcano. Yeah, I'm going to say that again. A surprise from super volcano under Yellowstone. So it is possible that this super volcano under Yellowstone could be more active at a more faster pace than we'd ever realized. I hope to God not in our lifetime it ever explodes. I hope it never explodes, obviously. But it could literally send a massive amount of volcanic dust on literally every part of the United States. Would, if it happened, would totally wipe out farming. Massive people would starve to death. And a lot of people would be killed in the super volcano eruption. So, something to pray about. Please do not worry about that. But I don't know. I'm just kind of looking through everything. I've already talked about a good bit about what I wanted to talk about. Oh, this is another one. And this kind of ticks me off. I tend to talk about the things that upset me. And this is about somebody who is actually a big player in the DNC. And obviously it pisses me off again. Perez takes college gig after saying DNC chair post should be a full-time job. Democratic National Committee Chairman Tom Perez is taking a part-time Ivy League teaching gig after saying earlier this year the chairman should be a full-time job. Yes, Perez took over after Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to step down only because the truth came out. Perez made the comment in late 2016, and now obviously his word means nothing. Tom Perez is a liar. He doesn't give a damn about his constituents. He gives a damn about his bottom line, about his pocket. Taking this Ivy League post, and it's probably more for the money than anything else. And he's a Minnesota Democratic congressman. So if you live in Minnesota, please vote Tom Perez out of office. And maybe he'll get the message that it's more important for him to be doing the work of his constituents than it is to line his pockets with college money. So it's just another thing that just ticks me off about how the Democrats think they're entitled to even more money. They don't give a damn about doing the work for the people. And it's kind of interesting to me how much even the GOP, my party, doesn't do the work of the American people. And I'm just going to give you a little hint. And once we do get closer to the elections, which is a good ways off, I'm going to be calling for the removal of any Democrat or Republican out of office that is not willing to get things done. I suggest that you vote in a new Republican. Yeah, a new one. Get rid of the old. I am pro-life, as you've heard me say many times. So I would never vote for somebody that's not pro-life. If you don't respect life, you won't respect the law. That's just a very common foundation. It's very important that you get your mind around that. If they're not willing to stand up for human life, they will not stand up for law either. These Democrats, oh my gosh, I realize that, the GOP, some of them could be like on tricky water too, and I'm not saying they're fault free. I'm not saying that at all. They are only human. None of us will be Christ-like until we get to the pearly gates, to the other side of the pearly gates. Nobody is perfect, but I am a pro-life person, and I suggest you do the research. I'm going to say it again and again and again until all of America hears this. There's literally no doubt that if a lady has an abortion, she is going to die an early death. The studies are in. The doctors will never tell you that. Planned Parenthood will never tell a lady that. I think it's a crime. A lady should have to sign off and saying, hey, if I have this procedure, I am many, many more times likely to die an early death. I believe that knowledge alone will save a lot of lives. And I'll be honest, since I'm the Christian in the crowd, I've had ladies who've had abortions decades ago and say, oh my gosh, am I forgiven? And the truth is, yes, you are forgiven. There's literally no doubt about that. But that doesn't mean there's not consequences for your actions. There is a real big difference between being forgiven and having to face judgment for your actions. And I'm going to tell you a little personal story that I don't think I've ever talked about on the radio. In 1973, my Aunt Mildred was waiting for what they call an L train in Chicago. Basically, it's an elevated train. And she was murdered by a guy who literally beat her over the head with a tire iron. Didn't even know her. And he was out on bail for rape at the time. Yeah, and the story even gets crazier. I guess I'm going to go ahead and tell the rest of it. Because when my uncle, my aunt's brother, retired, he had more time on his hands. He said, well, I'm going to look at what kind of prisoner this person has been. Because at that time, we were for many years, well, not many years, but a few years, we had actually received letters from every December, Merry Christmas, from the Illinois Parole Board asking us to write letters why this man should not be released. Every single December for probably the last 5 years until the truth came out. The man had already been released from jail. He was already wandering the streets. The man who killed my aunt in cold blood, guess what he was doing for a living? In Chicago, North Shore. He was a paramedic. Yeah. That's so crazy that it's the truth. Sometimes the truth is crazier than life. And it's just, it's hard to get my mind around. Doing the math, I would think that this person is retired now. But I got a feeling when he gets to the pearly gates, he's got some explaining to do. So I'm not trying to judge his salvation. That's between him and the Lord. But I'm saying he murdered my aunt in cold blood. And obviously I had my fiance murdered. So I understand crime from a very different perspective than most people do. So I do have talking points, as I do every day, and we're going to talk about fear and anxiety when I get back. I'm going to go ahead and take my short break, and I'll be right back. And there is step one of going live of 2 steps. Now I just kind of shuffle and buy a few seconds until I hear myself live. And then we can get into what we're going to talk about today, and that is fear and anxiety. And I did do a lot of research, as I do every evening, on this subject. And there I am, so I get to talk. Nice. And everything, well, not everything, but a lot of what I take is from the internet. But I've decided today to first talk about a real life situation. This is something that happened to my sister, well, probably a few decades ago, to be honest. But there was one time, well, many, many years ago, she was a district manager for Avon. And at that moment in time, she had other districts after, but her first district was actually a very rough part of the city of Chicago. And my sister happens to be a very light-complected person and a very beautiful lady. So she found herself, for whatever situation, I really don't remember. I'm sure she told me the story. She was walking through a dark street in downtown Chicago on her way home from work. And she had this sense that she was about to be mugged. And guess what? She was. She was mugged. But she had a realization that it was probably going to happen. It's just something told her in her personality. And it was probably the Holy Spirit descending upon her and to say, hey, you have real fear here. And she handled it quite well. I don't remember all the exact details, but people are victims of crime every day. And if you are a lady, unfortunately, just because of your gender, you are much more likely to be victimized for many reasons. For one, you're considered a weaker vessel. I don't consider that, especially if you knew my sister. She wouldn't be the person I'd bug. She's liable to punch you in the face, buddy. But anyway, I don't want to get on my soapbox about that. But my point is sometimes you do have a real fear. And there's a couple of things or one big thing that I want to make a point about that. And this is something that you probably heard before, but I'm going to say it again. Use the buddy system. If you find yourself, you're being forced to walk in questionable areas or anything like that, try to find a buddy. You are 99.99 less likely to be a victim of a crime. Yes, use the buddy system every time it's possible, and maybe you need to make arrangements so if you even didn't think about it, make it possible. And I live in the suburbs of Chicago. In today's world, all the madness that's going on in Chicago, she could have very well been shot. Yeah. Every day there's victims of shootings in Chicago. I believe the statistics are definitely much more than the war in Iraq or Afghanistan. More people get shot in Chicago than the wars that we fight. And guess what? Guns are illegal in Chicago. Guns are illegal in Chicago. But guess what? That never stopped a criminal. Criminals have much more guns. In fact, the criminals many times are much more outgunned and equipped than the police officers. So it is crazy times. And it's even crazier when you have an idiot mayor like Rahm Emanuel. He doesn't give a damn. He just cowtails to the special interests. And my guess is he doesn't even live in the city of Chicago. I have not looked that up. I imagine it's public record. I don't even know. But my guess is Rahm Emanuel doesn't even live in Chicago. He probably doesn't even set foot in Chicago after dark. I can't believe they get away with such bad behavior. But before I get on my soapbox and use up all the time, we do need to talk about fear and anxiety. And this is actually, I do a lot of research at night, and a lot of what I like is actually from Psychology Today, but not always. And this is actually from Billy Graham's ministry, How to Overcome Fear and Anxiety and Worry. Historians will probably call our area the age of anxiety. Anxiety is the natural result when hopes are centered in anything short of God and God's will for us. That statement is by Billy Graham. And obviously, Billy Graham is a great American. And I do want to talk more about what he had to say about it. And this is something that was in that same article. Finally, brothers, whatsoever is true, whatsoever is honorable, whatsoever is just, whatsoever is pure, whatsoever is lovely, whatsoever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. What you have learned and received and heard and seen from me. This is a quote from the Bible. Actually, I'm very aware of that. Practice these things and God will give you peace, and God's peace will be with you. I totally agree with that. And I do want to move into these 15 quotes on anxiety because I think they're really good ones. So here's the first one. Fear not. The future, God is already there. So don't play in traffic. But anyway, may I digress. Next one. Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is within you wherever you go. Next one. I've read the last page of the Bible. It's all going to turn out all right. And in case you haven't, well, I suggest you do. Revelations. It's great stuff. But focus on the last page. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalms 27:1. Next one. Anxiety is a man's heart weighs him down, but a good world makes him glad. I'm going to say that again because obviously we live in very crazy times. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word, not world, word makes him glad. So I've talked about positive speech before, but definitely try to focus on using positive speech. Next one. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous man runs into it and is safe. That is Proverbs 18:10. Next one. It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. Next. The Lord your God in the midst, the mighty one will save. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quiet you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. That's Ziph. I can't even say that word. I don't read my Bible nearly enough, probably. Anyway, next one. Earth's troubles fade in the light of heaven's hope. Ooh, I like that. I'm going to say that again. Earth's troubles fade in the light of heaven's hope. That's from Billy Graham. Next one. Don't live in constant fear of future. Put your life and your future into Christ's hands. Billy Graham. For God save us, a spirit of fear, but power and love and self-control. This is 2 Timothy from the Bible. I'm going to say it one more time before I move on. For God gave us a spirit of fear, of power, and love of... Let me say it again because I'm messing up here. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. Next one. What oxygen is to the lungs, hope is to our survival and the world, and the Bible is filled with hope. And that's Billy Graham. I'm going to say that again because I love that one. What oxygen is to the lungs, hope is to our survival in this world, and the Bible is filled with hope. That's great stuff by Billy Graham, and of course this thing jumped around a little bit, but not too crazy. So anyway, next one. From one end of the Bible to the other, God assures us that he will never go back on his promises. And that's from Billy Graham. Next one. Set your mind on things above, not on earthly things. And that's Colossians 3:2. Next one. Amazing things happen when the family of God bands together. Oh, that's true. I'm going to say it again. And this is from Billy Graham. Amazing things happen when the family of God bands together. So obviously that's the 15 quotes that I wanted to share with you from the Billy Graham article. But I'm going to move on to another article and talk about, well, I think before I get into this one, I just I know I've talked about this before, but I know it's been months ago. And literally everybody at times in their life deals with fear and anxiety, no matter what the situation is. There's a lot of different situations. Maybe something's coming down at work. Maybe you have family drama. I don't know your particular situation, but chances are, if you're not a young person, you've had to deal with fear and anxiety in the past. And guess what? Here you are. You got through it. So I suggest to you just having the knowledge that, hey, I'm going to get through this and I'm going to be fine. Just having that knowledge is going to take the worry off of your mind. So, going to move on. 7 medical facts about anxiety you need to know. And that sounds like good stuff. And the first one of these 7 is decreased energy. Yeah, I believe that because I believe that all of our energy really starts in the mind. And if our mind is distracted by fear and anxiety, it's going to be so overwhelming that it's going to take a lot of energy out of us emotionally, psychologically, and then in the physical, doing things too. So I think that's a huge one to wrap your mind around. If you find yourself stuck in fear and anxiety, it's probably going to mean you're going to have lower energy level too. And this thing is next one, and this is totally believable with fear and anxiety, is another problem is insomnia. We've talked about it not many times, but a few times. And I did say to you that I do believe that you'd be better off with more of a holistic approach. And a couple of recommendations I did throw out there, I'm going to say it again. I think I said it even earlier this week, is drink dark cherry juice right before bed. And another one is a real possibility is take very warm, hot baths just before bed. It'll help you relax. So I totally believe in that if you need to relax. And everybody needs sleep. Like I shared with you, your body literally does 100% of its healing in its sleep. Moving on to number 5, weakened immune systems. Ooh, that's bad. Nobody needs a weakened immune system. But fear and anxiety can actually weaken your immune system. Anxiety often leads to a higher number of colds or other minor illnesses due to decreased immune response. The relationship between anxiety and immune system is well documented, but not well understood. Anxiety can trigger the release of stress hormones, which cause a variety of changes in the way that the immune system responds to threats. Cortisol, an anti-inflammatory hormone, is released when the body is anxious. Cortisol works essentially weakening the antibodies that can increase inflammation. Unfortunately, these antibodies also fight germs. So, yeah, I can totally see how it would weaken your immune system. And I believe this next one is true too. If you deal with fear and anxiety, there's a good chance you have digestive issues. Yes. Health prep does not provide... anyway. Many of the most common side effects of anxiety are digestive issues. So if you have digestive issues, you might want to consider you might have fear and anxiety issues too. Anxiety is known to cause diarrhea, indigestion, and abdominal cramps in many individuals, as well as more serious issues. Anxiety can cause heartburn, basically, is the reflux disease or acid reflux, which can cause a painful buildup of stomach acid in the esophagus and actually can lead to esophagus cancer. Cancer of the esophagus is one of the most deadliest forms of cancer, but I don't want to walk down that bunny trail. The acid can also cause ulcers and other bowel syndrome. While some over-the-counter antacids can relieve these symptoms, the best treatment is to resolve the cause of the anxiety itself. I totally agree with that. Always start with the source. Always. So I think it's critical, in fact, even from a digital thing, because I'm just going to go ahead and title and tell you because I'm kind of excited about this other one. Lately, in the last month or so, what I've been doing to listen to the radio station when I'm driving, what I've been doing is I pull up the app on my phone, and then I have this little Bluetooth speaker. And I found that just for turning up the volume, it's much better to do it from the phone, the source. If you try to turn up the speaker, it's not going to work as well. Whatever the source is, no matter if it's fear and anxiety or it's an issue with turning up your Bluetooth speaker, go to the source. Anyway, next point. Number 3, jaw aches, tooth pains, and headaches. Anxiety causes many individuals to clench their jaw, whether sleeping or awake, and that is not good for your teeth. Do never clench your teeth. All the extra tension can cause jaw stiffness or aches and can cause excess wear on the teeth. Grinding one's teeth in sleep can lead to a host of dental issues. I totally believe that, including a broken jaw or chipped teeth or misalignment of teeth. Clenching jaw frequently causes a headache and can stress hormones released by anxiety. While pain medication can treat symptoms, they can increase anxiety. Wow, so that's crazy. You'd be better off, like I say, to dealing with from the source because it'll always give you a better result. Next one, number 2, perspiration or shaking. Perspiration or shaking. One of the most visible and embarrassing side effects of anxiety is constant sweating or jitterness associated with mental health issue. Anxiety can trigger and release adrenaline and fight hormones, which boost the body's energy level. While this can be good in truly dangerous situations, anxiety often strikes for reasons other than the need to protect oneself. The same fight or flight response that led to the shaking and excess perspiration, sweating, can be cured more anxiety over social stigma associated with the behaviors. So, long story short, go back to the source. All of these issues are in your mind. And, let me cough. And I'm back. So I did want to say this, and I've said this a while ago, but I'm going to say it again, that I believe that by dealing with these things is going to benefit your life in so many ways. In fact, because this is being a PG show, I didn't realize this last one. I'm just going to state what it is, and then I'm going to move on because we're not going to talk about it. Loss of sex drive and performance. Anyway, that only deals with married people. Like I've said many times, I believe that if you're going to have physical relations, you need to be married, just like the Bible says. The Bible got it 100% right. The Bible, God is the author of love and sex, but he wants it to happen in ways that are going to bless your life. So there's literally no doubt about that. He is the author of love and sex. God is. So don't think that the Bible's anti-love and sex. It's not. It just wants to bless your life. So you need to be married first. And I need to stay on task because obviously we're running out of time. And this is learn these 3 powerful allies against fear and anxiety and enjoy life again. So it sounds like great stuff. First one, breathing is the short circuit for anxiety. So I do need, I'm not going to talk about breathing exercises at this moment, but I do believe in focusing on breathing. And I think it will short circuit your anxiety. Totally agree with that. Do very focused breathing. Number 2, prepare for a peaceful performance. You know, if you have an event coming up or you got to publicly speak, prepare for peaceful performance. Don't allow the anxiety to get to you. And this one sounds like more difficult than it's probably realistic to do, but I'm going to say it. Use a different part of your brain. I'm not going to really go into it because we are running out of time, but next one, get control over your imagination. This one is huge. Get control of your imagination. It's kind of, well, I've been through so many tragedies in my life that I kind of had to retrain my brain, because for a long time there, I literally felt like an undertaker. You know, I've told that story in the past a long time ago, how when I first started dating my wife and my wife explained to her mother all the things that I've been through, her mother's first response was, "Is this guy safe to date?" And I find it funny now, but I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about Marcia. Marcia was an awesome person. She was totally kind and loving. And actually last night, because Marcia did pass away on Saturday, we were going through songs, and there's one particular song that so reminds me of Marcia. And the song is by Christy Nockels, Be Loved. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to go into a little bit more about it. The song is by Christy Nockels, and it's called Be Loved. And it really talks about how you allow Jesus to love you. It's not about a man, lady. It's not at all. Please listen to the song. It'll totally bless your life. But she is so right. Be loved. Allow love into your life. If you don't, you're going to face the consequences, and it's bad stuff. Allow yourself to be loved. And I know a lot of people have been mistreated in their younger life by very possibly their parents. I've even seen pastors mistreat people, and we sort of hold them to a higher standard, but they are only human. So as we wind down on time, allow yourself to be loved by Jesus. I'm not talking about your boyfriend, your girlfriend. I'm not talking about that at all. Allow Jesus to love every aspect of you. Your life will be changed forever. So, as we run out of our time here, as I always say, take a walk, but even on the cloudy days, the sun still is actively beating on you, believe it or not. So maybe just for warmth, you want to use a hat. And, I say a tourist hat would be best, but ball cap is a decent thing. And it would actually obviously help you be a little bit warmer. So you'd probably need that today. You're here in the Fox Valley area. But anyway, I need to go. My hour is up. So hope you have a great day. And I hope you take that walk. Bye for now.